Shalom, dear friends. Yesterday, we encountered Matthew, who tried to answer the question, who is Jesus Christ? And today, in the second chapter, he will try to tell us about the places associated with the infancy of Jesus. First of all, Matthew takes us to Jerusalem, where the wise men encounter Herod the Great, who in turn consults with the chief priests and the scribes in order to locate the place of the origin of the Messiah. Then we see the wise men moving to Bethlehem, where they pay homage to Jesus. From there, Matthew takes us to Egypt, where at the advice of the angel, Joseph takes Jesus and Mary to Egypt. Finally, Matthew takes us back to the land of Israel and Nazareth. So there is a movement from the east. Most probably it is Persia. The wise men come from Persia to Jerusalem, Jerusalem to Bethlehem, Bethlehem to Egypt, and back to the land of Israel in Nazareth. Why is Matthew trying to give a lot of importance to this geographical location? You know, in the Bible, geography is also theology. The locus where God intervenes in the life of His people. Therefore, geography becomes also theology. Jesus is born exactly where the Messiah is to be born, in the town of David. And that town is Bethlehem, according to the prophecies of the Old Testament. And Matthew quotes prophet Micah, "And you, Bethlehem of Judah, from you shall come a ruler." Why is the Holy Family moving to Egypt? Again, in the Old Testament, Egypt provides the safe and secure place for the people of Israel. You remember, the Joseph of old saved the people of Israel from starvation, taking them to Egypt. Jeroboam, the first king of the divided monarchy, the first king of Israel, escaped from Solomon, who wanted to kill him, and remained in Egypt till the death of Solomon. And now is Joseph taking Jesus, the new Israel, to Egypt in order to escape from the massacre by Herod the Great. You know, throughout the Gospel, according to Matthew, we find a link between Joseph of old and Joseph of the New Testament. Moses and Jesus. Jesus is the new Moses, the new Israel. Pharaoh of the Old Testament tried to kill all the male children of Israel, and Moses alone escaped. Herod the Great, the new Pharaoh, is trying to kill all the male children of Bethlehem, and Jesus alone is saved. And both Moses and Jesus are the saviors of the people. So we find a close link between Moses and Jesus, Joseph of Old and Joseph of the New Testament. Okay, let's see who these wise men were. Most of you are familiar with the popular Christmas carol, "We three kings of the Orient are." And we know, definitely they were not kings. They were wise men from Persia, because the Greek word used as magos is the title of a Persian priestly class of learned men who were astrologers and who knew how to interpret dreams. The mention of three gifts is probably the origin of the post-biblical tradition that there were three wise men. Again, yesterday we referred to Joseph as a just man, righteous man, and we found that the definition of a just man in Matthew is the one who does the will of God. In chapter 2, we find several places where Joseph is justified as just man, righteous man, because he does exactly what God tells him. Let's take a sample. Chapter 2, verse 13. The angel appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up, take the child and his mother, flee to Egypt," etc. Next verse. Joseph got up. So, angel said, "Get up." Joseph got up. "Take the child and his mother." He took the child and his mother. "Flee to Egypt." And he went to Egypt and remained there until I tell you. And remained there until the death of Herod. Literally obeying the command of God. So Joseph is justified as the just man who does the will of the Father. And lastly, Matthew is trying to tell us why Jesus is called Nazareth. Well, Jesus is born in Bethlehem. His parents are from Bethlehem. Then why during his public ministry he is known as Jesus of Nazareth? So, when the Holy Family comes back to Israel, Archelaus is the king, the son of Herod, who is cruel, more cruel than his own father. So they find Nazareth as a safer place. And at the end of the Gospel, Matthew tells us that according to the prophets, he will be called a Nazarene. There are three possible explanations. First of all, he is now living in Nazareth, so he is called Jesus of Nazareth. Secondly, the word Nazir means one who is set apart, and we have the classical example of Samson in the book of Judges. Thirdly, Netzer means branch, and the book of Isaiah that refers to the Messiah. So in all these three ways, Jesus is rightly called Nazarene, Jesus of Nazareth. Finally, dear friends, I would like to give you a little assignment. In the first two chapters, there are 5 scriptural proofs for the identity of Jesus. And 31 verses from chapter 1, verse 18 to chapter 2, they are the most distinguishing contribution of Matthew to Christian story, where he makes use of 5 biblical quotations and 5 biblical proofs to show the identity of Jesus. Could you go through them? We have one in chapter 1 with regard to the virginal birth of Jesus. Secondly, the wise men coming to Jerusalem, where the prophet says Bethlehem would be the place of the birth of the Messiah. And thirdly, the flight into Egypt. Out of Egypt I will call my son. And fourthly, the massacre of the innocent. And finally, why Jesus is called Jesus the Galilean. And I would like to exhort you, my friends, to go through the text of the Bible so that we will follow the explanation. Remember, the text is to be understood within its context. Until tomorrow, Shalom.